one. Bam. Look at that. It's the start of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So, 381 of 18 the show. Wow, look at that. International podcast, guys. We got Paco in Lebanon. We got Saeed in the UK. We got Abbas in Grenada. And me in LA. And we have a fellow Canadian.
Brother,
Nafis. Perfect.
This is a great thing.
Pretty
He
much.
looks like he's Canadian. I'm
Does
gonna
he
tell
look
you
like-
that.
Well, he lives in Canada. Okay? So, Nafis, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what's going on in Canada right now? To us uninformed people.
Yeah, so basically there's a trucker convoy protest. Initially it started because whenever a trucker comes back from the US and if they're not vaccinated, then they have to quarantine for 14 days. But the thing is, if they're not vaccinated, but the thing is 90% of them are already vaccinated. It's that 10% that's suffering. And for those 10%, they're basically banded together and they have decided to protest. And they basically drove, or truckers all around Canada drove all the way to the capital city, Ottawa. And they closed all the streets, shut down the borders. They took their trucks and shut down the borders between Canada and the USA. So to be honest, if you go to the rural areas of Canada, if you go to the Walmarts and things like that, no frills and stuff, there's no vegetables, nothing,
Oh, wow.
no products.
Wow.
Usually in the city where I am in Toronto, there is, but in the rural areas there are no, there's no products to be sold. Also, the first started off as an anti-mandate for those truckers, but now it's evolved to anti-mask, anti-mandate for everyone, and everyone's looking at them as the Freedom Convoy protest. I guess it's looked at as a right-wing protest, but initially it wasn't. It's changed.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
Make Canada
that
great
evolved.
again, basically. Yeah. that's kind of what it sounds like, the same mantra as what was it, MAGA? Make MAGA great again. MAGA.
Maca.
It's interesting, how it evolved, and it started with just the vaccines, and now it's all about the masks. And I'm just really why is it anti-freedom to wear a mask? That's what. Yeah.
In Canada, it's so
confusing.
strict. I think Canada and Australia are the ones that are the most strict when it comes to vaccines and masks and all that stuff. And everyone's fed up. Everyone's really fed up. So everyone was on board at the beginning. And now when you look at the people who are protesting and you see Nazi flags and you see Confederate flags, everyone's we don't support that. Most of the Canadians don't.
Right. Oh, man. Well, I also heard that on top of that, Canada took an emergency
you have to
action.
understand that somebody can do something.
Oh yeah, thing called what's it called again? It basically called the military up, Justin Trudeau, and everybody is like, bro, that was so unnecessary. Even his own team is that's so unnecessary. So,
Wait, so he called for a state of emergency? Is that
state
it?
of emergency? That's what it is. Yeah, that's what.
Holy shit! Basically, it's like the legal way of saying, "Oh, let's put boots on the ground, but in our own country."
Yeah, yeah.
But holy shit! So basically, so they're gonna are they just dropping now military troops all over the city?
Yeah, he called it back. At the beginning they were, and then he basically said, no, never mind.
It doesn't make me look cool.
No, he's like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make me look
We're
cool.
starting to sound like the Middle East, that's that we can't do that. It's a bit too much for us. Yeah,
The craziest thing was if you go to the borders, every single border is closed by a truck. The truck's just closing the border. But then America hit Trudeau up. They're like, I don't care, just keep the Ambassador Bridge open, which is the one in Niagara Falls. They're like, just keep that one open. Who cares about the other ones? For diplomatic reasons. So that's the only one. Yeah, diplomatic.
Jeez.
Wait, he called it's called martial law or
No,
State
it's
of
not
emergency.
martial. State of emergency.
I'm used to Lebanon. Every 10 seconds there's martial law.
Mashallah. Yeah.
First of all, Lebanon is the greatest country on earth. Yeah. Do not talk
Yeah.
about Lebanon, bro. It's the only country where you can walk around with an AR-15 and nobody says any bets an eye. That's the beauty about this country, is that we can carry guns freedomly. See, white people in America wish they were Lebanese. I'm gonna tell you this, because we can do what they can't do in their own country. That's it. I'm
Technically,
American,
Paco, you
so-
can't, but
All right,
technically.
you have some
Yeah,
freedoms,
but
I guess.
technically,
Lebanon.
nobody's gonna. Everyone's gonna shut the. Technically, everyone's gonna be quiet because if they say something, they're probably gonna die, and that's it, bro.
That's
It's
freedom.
chaos. I'm not gonna lie, but freedom. What's freedom ain't free.
What?
Freedom ain't free. What is freedom, Paco?
What is freedom? Freedom is having the right to do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right. Well,
But
look,
as long as you pay taxes.
as long as you pay
As long as
taxes.
you pay taxes.
Well, it's like the Canada
my God.
situation is kind of tricky, right?
In the
Because it's
name,
like,
we don't pay taxes or
you don't pay anything in Lebanon. There's no taxes.
Bro, Paco's analysis of whatever term or theory that comes to his mind, truly inspirational stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Yeah,
Well,
anyways,
it's
for
free.
Canada.
hey man, I wouldn't vote for me. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
It seems
Oh,
to
my
me like everyone's just on high stress alert. That's what it feels like. It feels like the truckers may be on very high stress alert, and Justin Trudeau and the government's on very high stress alert. And it took a protest situation that happens everywhere, and it just escalated, and now it's like a worldwide protest.
Oh yeah,
You
at the beginning, no media was covering it. Zero media was covering it, and then
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
you can't trust these media, even Russia, Ukraine, whatever's going on. I don't trust any of them. Like, the media is always controlled by the government here. Like, I could tell you many stories that have happened here that, you don't get a sniff of it in the newspaper or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
And the image of Canada is it's a safe place. Canadians are nice, but bro, there's so many cases here. There's so many fuck shit going up. The media just doesn't cover it. The PR,
You have your own
it's just
version of
the
Florida,
difference between America and Canada is just we have better PR. That's it. That's it, honestly, and we have free healthcare.
That's pretty big, but yeah.
That's big, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
so
mean, since
it started off. So let me just understand. It started off just the 10% who aren't vaccinated. They were just peacefully protesting. Were they
everyone was protesting, all the truckers.
Oh,
The 90%
okay, so
were
just-
basically protesting for the 10%.
oh, for the 10. Okay.
Yeah,
Wait,
they're like, yo, there's no need for us to quarantine for 14 days.
and
it's
then
only
when
10%
in the
of us.
beginning, it was pretty nice. They're doing it for the 10% who aren't getting money. They're
Having to quarantine.
losing jobs. Yeah, exactly.
So it started off as that, and then once.
And
when the
what
truckers-
happened? Why did it?
Basically, they drove from Vancouver because most of the truckers were in Vancouver. They go to California and stuff like that. So from Vancouver all the way to Ottawa, that's almost a day and a half drive. And so on their way, when all the people heard about it, that they're gonna do this, they're like, yes, they're the freedom movement. We're gonna get our freedom back. But it's not. But they're protesting for themselves. They're not protesting for us, for the regular people. And so I don't know how it happened, but all the regular people were like, no, they're doing it for us, but it wasn't for us. But then it turned into a protest for us on the way there.
I feel like the message was a bit played with.
Mhm.
Yeah,
People
bro,
just
I
started
could-
hopping on the
to be honest, I
bandwagon,
didn't
and they're like, let's use this media coverage of the truckers and then use it to push our ideologies and our policies.
The thing is,
Like
people
they
were
just made it. They
people were
made it more
suffering.
for themselves.
yeah, basically. But the people who are suffering the most from this, the lockdowns we've had, so many lockdowns we've had, the anti-mask, anti-mandate, and all this stuff is from is the business owners, the store owners. Like my friend whose dad owns a pizza store shut down. I know like 3 or 4 pubs shut down. Like they're just shutting down. So they're the ones that are suffering the most. Where I'm not suffering at all. Like having to show my vaccine passport, like it doesn't matter to me. And the lockdowns, they don't really matter to me. So but for the store owners, the business owners, the small business owners, they suffer the most.
In general, in COVID, imagine they were suffering, and now.
And then you put more lockdowns.
Yeah, more.
So people are fed up, basically. At the beginning, I was like, yeah, Freedom Convoy. But then I look at the people there, and I'm like, nah, bro.
This is not us.
Nazi flags and Confederate flags.
How? Why did they start putting Nazi and
because it was like, because you're really protesting against the liberal government. So then all the right wing are just gonna join in, right?
Yeah.
And the right wing are usually consisting of those type of people.
And I bet they're all vaccinated.
Yeah.
No. I'm like, you know.
But at least he's noticing himself.
People are
that's a good
fucked
thing.
up, bro.
I agree. That's yeah.
Great assessment, Paco.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I bet they're all vaccinated. I bet they all are afraid of something.
Should we get him a
that's not even
translator?
real.
I think that would be more.
Like, so,
this would be more efficient.
like, it's just a matter of.
Typing would be better.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. This is a podcast. Be 100% nice to your fellow colleagues, Saeed. Let's just be nice to each other. How about that?
Calm down. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Paco, we're just like listening to like almost static. That's the thing. We can't even understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
So,
I know, bro.
Like one word passes
But
by
you
and then
give
like
me
maybe
better
2
internet,
words.
bro.
Sorry.
Well,
We
welcome
need-
to Lebanon, bro. Lebanon is one of those countries, bro. It's very beautiful. You know, our women are very fine. The dinner, the food, oh my god.
Right.
Oh
We
my
need Elon Musk to send him a Starlink. That's what we need.
The women, very beautiful.
It's like the shocking thing to me about that I found out about
Hey
Canada.
man, shout out to my brother Elon.
Shout out to Elon. The shocking thing
Is he receiving the like our messages to him very
He
delayed?
knows.
It's like it's.
Yeah,
it
but
true?
Ali, you were saying.
Is it
I
true that they?
know, yeah.
Why?
Sorry, I had to mute Paco. Is it true that they were freezing bank accounts? Do you know about the story, Nafis?
No, oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so
shit.
what happened was there's a GoFundMe that was started for the truckers because they've been protesting for weeks there, and they're gonna need to stay there, food, hotels, blah blah blah. And so they created a GoFundMe, and they raised up to $9 million, and then the Canadian government shut it down. And they're like, no, you can't give this back to the truckers. And GoFundMe is a private business because I mean the government doesn't want the truckers to succeed, right? So they're like, no, you can't give this to the truckers. And so GoFundMe had to basically either return all the money or distribute it to someone else. So yes, not freezing bank accounts, but they froze the donations that they got up to $9 million of donations.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's how you know it's huge, right? That's a lot of money.
Wait, can the government like freeze GoFundMe? Like, can they block it or?
I don't know how they can block. Like, it's a private
isn't
company.
it a private? Yeah,
Private company.
They
That's
can
how you
do it.
know,
I
like,
mean,
the
it's-
government owns the private companies. That's how you know, bro. Like private companies, bro. They don't really.
No,
they're not
I
really
think
private.
what they do is like they scare them. For example, what they do with banks, they can threaten them with like increased taxes on or sanctions on that specific bank, and they probably did that with GoFundMe. So then GoFundMe was like, oh, we don't want any problems. We'll freeze this asset for them.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
$9 million though. That's a lot.
Yeah, man.
And GoFundMe gets like 3% of those, like every donation. So
What's 3% of 9 million?
A lot, yeah. That's so wild. It just shows like how huge the scale is. How many people are involved in this. And I don't like it.
Like they also like try to
It'd be
get the
like maybe
indigenous guys to support them too, because you know Trump. So the indigenous people don't get clean water.
Yep.
Because of Trudeau, and so this has been assessed for years now. I think 6 years ago he's like, I'm gonna fix it, but he never fixed it. And so the indigenous people are also joining in with the truckers. So it's been a protest about everything now.
So now all like the hidden,
all the hidden agendas.
hatred. And,
by the way,
to the government.
I don't know if you guys know, we probably don't. We found over the last couple of years, we found like 6,000 children, indigenous children, buried under schools.
A church, right?
Oh yeah, I
Churches,
heard about
schools.
that.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that too. And what was the response of the government?
Sorry.
I did not.
What else? What are they gonna do?
And that's
What else are they gonna say?
That's like the
children.
most white people answer to that question. No offense, white people. White people are probably great, but bro, that is so messed up. Like that is. I'm just Becky, bro. It makes you cry.
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
thousands of children are buried under a church.
I'm telling you,
Like,
we just have
that's
better PR.
some white people shit. No offense. You know? Like, I bet the priest had a good time. I bet the priest had a good time.
Paco.
God damn.
No
Jeez.
offense.
Wow, this guy's
yeah.
getting darker than I expected. Wow.
Hey.
It's so wild. The Freedom
Paco,
Convoy.
your jokes
Yeah.
are getting much more darker than I know. I remember you being. This is not the shit, man.
That's
Are
so
you going
funny.
through a tough time? Holy shit.
Bro, everyone's protesting for freedom.
Yeah.
So
Everyone.
I stand in solidarity with you, Paco. I know.
For the truckers.
Bro.
It's like it's wild that like I feel like the majority of people must be just like in the middle, right? They're not like they're not anti-truckers or they're pro-truckers or they're just in between, right?
No,
Say
majority of the people,
Ukraine.
according to the polls, they don't give a shit about
They
this.
don't care.
They don't care.
They want to go back to normal. Pretty much.
I mean, they don't care, but it's not affecting their lives. Like the passport or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Mandates. Yeah, it's not affecting our lives. Majority of the people's lives, so they don't really give a shit.
Sorry to meet you again. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess like, you know, in one sense, just get vaccinated and you're fine, right? You'll be fine.
Honestly,
Yeah.
just I think a week ago, the Ontario Premier was like, "Okay, yeah, we don't need you don't need to show your vaccine credentials when you go into the store anymore. It's gone. You don't need it anymore." So basically, the anti-vaxxers won. You didn't need to vaccinate. Yeah. So the anti-vaxxers ended up winning.
Oh wow.
So
It's like
crazy.
for the past year, we had to show our credentials. Like, yeah, we got vaccinated to go into stores, restaurants. I don't know, like anything, any small business. Now they like will remove it because so many stores closed down. So at the end of the day, the anti-vaxxers won.
Yeah, the UK is also doing the same, similar thing. Actually, what they did is they removed all
They
restrictions.
removed everything, bro. UK.
You don't need anything. Yeah, you don't need a mask. You don't need a what's it called? COVID pass. Nothing.
You don't even need a quarantine now when you test positive in the UK.
It's obligate. It's you know it's your choice.
optional.
It's
Yeah.
optional. If you're COVID positive, you choose. You know, you can go to work. You can stay at home.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Sweden as well. I think Sweden as well followed the UK.
Is it because things are going good now? Like we're in a
I think what happened. I think what happened was like everyone got sick over New Year's Eve and Christmas. Then, like basically everyone got COVID, so it's hard to find someone now who hasn't gotten it. So might as well just remove restrictions.
Wasn't like, Boris Johnson like he was like, you know what, power to the people. I want to be, you know, I trust you guys, the people, to to do what you can.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he
Bro, there
said
was a
that, I think.
There's a story that came out of how they did a party during the pandemic when everyone was, when they told everyone initially during the lockdown to not go out and not do gatherings, and then they had their own party where Boris Johnson was also invited to, and
Paco.
they conducted it as if it was there was no pandemic, nothing, while everyone else was in lockdown, and there was so many people just like angered by that when they found out, because like imagine your prime minister is telling you have to be in lockdown, and then he's going to a party with like 100 people and no one's wearing masks or anything like that.
Yeah. I guess COVID's ending basically. The COVID era is done.
Well,
I think we're
World War
just-
III era.
Yeah.
I think they got fed up. People are just
Yeah.
fed up.
I think we're also getting accustomed to living with it.
I preferred
know.
it because I didn't have to go to work. Now I need to start going to work. So
It's kind of the selfish thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, everyone's working from home, which is kind of nice. That's one perk.
it kind of works
Yeah,
for
no.
like banks and stuff. Like you don't need to rent a floor anymore. Just work from home. Why do I need to go to work?
I mean, it's definitely promoting new ideas of the workplace and like how people can, actually conduct their work. Obviously, remote working has increased drastically over the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, I still want to have the freedom to go out sometimes. It's not like I want to be stuck at home during a pandemic.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen now. It's the trend is gonna start. Like, there's gonna be a new country every week, one country every week. That's gonna lift all the mandates and everything, like UK, Sweden, and now apparently Canada. No vaccines, no.
Yeah, but
I'm
we
sure-
can't say,
Just Ontario for now.
No.
we can't say this is going to be permanent, because like there's always new variations coming out. And I think I saw an article that was saying that in America a new Omicron variant was coming out. I'm not sure if it's like been verified yet, but I mean, there's always new variations coming out, and like we can't make a final decision from now.
I know, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like people are just fed up. Like they're getting accustomed, like we talked about, and we talked about vaccines and COVID a lot. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, we're fed up of the topic ourselves. Like,
Literally, we've talked about this to death. Yeah, literally.
yeah,
It's been going for two years now, a little over 2 years, right?
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. It's crazy. But yeah, it's
man.
crazy. You know what's crazy is that how this protest in Canada turned into something bigger than it really was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It even caused the government to call the military troops to the ground, like for a split second. But I mean, still,
It sounds very similar to the Black Lives Matter movement.
it
How,
sounds similar to everything these days.
Yeah, basically any protest that gains a little hype, other people join in, and it just becomes much more violent than it should be.
Yeah.
Just because like it lacks an organized structure. There's no one organizing it, and it's just free flowing between the people. I think you can also compare it to the supposed revolution that's happening, that was happening in Lebanon. It's not.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't call it a revolution. It's just like we were protesting.
No, for sure. I think I always see this trend with revolutions, or what's it called, protests, where it starts off very small and for the actual cause, but then at the end of the day it turns into something bigger and it goes chaotic.
Wow.
What do you guys think? Like, why do you guys think that happens?
Because we're just organized. That's why.
Where
Like, most
chaotic
people are
like-
disorganized.
We're chaotic. Yeah.
I guess
I
they're
mean-
all the reason we're protesting are all similar, and so we're trying to push that narrative with the other narrative, and like
And then-
Right.
7 narratives deep and it turns into something else.
Because imagine if it's just the truckers that protested. It wouldn't. I don't know if it would have been like, and no one would have, like, the government would have done anything. They still haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So
They didn't
I
care
guess-
for
Yeah,
the
and
longest
so-
time. Yeah.
I guess the truckers were inviting people too. They're like, yeah, join us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
friendly trucker protest. Or
No, but if you go to Ottawa, like the people who live in Ottawa, they're suffering a lot because they can't go out to eat, they can't go to shopping, they can't go shopping. Like they're suffering the most out of
are
all
people
this.
starving?
They're not starving. No one's starving.
Not
Canada?
not to that.
There's
no.
still a couple of truckers that are still doing, sending food and stuff like that. Who need money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
GoFundMe got shut down, right?
So yeah, they need money. Yeah.
I think that the comment that I wanted to give about why do these revolutions like spiral out into chaos is like, think of it this way: you have this one individual who has no time management skills or who's not organized, doesn't know how to plan his own life. Then get a whole group of this one individual, put them together into a group project, and see what happens when that group. That's exactly what the revolution is, man. Mostly of these revolutions, they're all protesting, but it's like filled with like people who have no time management skills or any organization skills, and they don't have necessarily one leader who's like trying to present, being a representative. You just have these random people that come up on TV and it's like, yo, the government, fuck the government. I don't know.
It's not true. I believe you need a team leader for anything in life.
Or at least a representative that actually was able to negotiate with the government, because that's what the government looks for when they want, to meet the demands of any kind of protest. You have to talk to someone, or like a group of delegates. Doesn't have to be one person. You talk to this group of people, you negotiate, and then you come to an agreement. But if you're just gonna stand in front of like thousands of people and say like, okay, what do you want? Oh no, you have a different, your opinion is a bit different. Okay, we can't accept that. It's not gonna work out. It's too much of a hassle.
Yeah, I get you.
The thing I noticed about like leadership and stuff is that it's not always like the best leaders are the ones who stand up to leadership positions, like sometimes like people who should be leaders end up taking a step back, and the people who want the clout and the ego and those are the people who stand up for it, and it just it causes just more chaos.
Maybe Ali, based on that, I just want to say, maybe like the true leaders don't choose these opportunities because they see the failed potential, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
There could be good potential, but maybe they think it's not gonna work out for them.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, it takes like, leadership is like, you need a plan, you need to be able to manage people and lead people and influence people. But I guess there are people who have nefarious reasons for wanting to be. Look at all the politicians, right? How come all the politicians are corrupt, literally? You're telling me there aren't any good leaders out there? There definitely are, but it's like, how come all these, literally most politicians, they have, the corrupt? Why? Because I think because people who choose those paths, are not the people who are, level-minded leaders. They're more egotistical.
But I don't think politicians are team leaders though. They're more they're definitely not
cheerleaders. Cheerleaders. Yeah, exactly.
But no, because team leaders, like as a team leader, you need to be respectful to all the parties and everything, and you need to do it for the cause that everybody's working towards. But politicians aren't like that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were talking about Russia and Ukraine, we could have talked about the leadership skills of the current Ukrainian president.
Yeah, we can talk about that
next week.
Yeah, I know.
Deserves a whole episode.
Because I wanted to. Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, since we're talking about leadership and like political leaders that are good or bad, he hasn't shown he's been showing like good leadership skills for now in the past 3 years as president.
What do you mean by good leadership skills?
Well, first of all, the guy originally started off as a comedian and an actor, and now he's running a country, and he was literally offered great success. Yes. Bro, and he was literally offered to get escorted out of Ukraine by foreign nations, because obviously he's there's a threat to his life, but he chose to stay and he's actually fighting with his people.
All right, so you have that, and then what's Justin Trudeau doing in Canada? No offense, it's not political or anything, but like on a leadership topic, he literally fled Canada. I don't know if that's true or not true. That's a nod from Nafis.
He fled Canada.
He fled. He was like, "This is a risk to my life." Is what he
He
said.
basically,
Risk
when
to
the
my life.
protests happened, he said, "Yo, I got COVID. I got quarantine."
Ah, yeah,
No
now you
way.
got COVID. Justin.
Sneaky, man, this guy.
Sneaky, yeah.
It's kind of the opposite, right? It's like one person's trying to stay with the people and help everyone, and the other person is just like, army attacking, like literally solve the problem.
Nafis said it. They're just good at PR.
We're just good at PR.
Wait, so how long has he been quarantining? Since when?
No,
has
24
he's
days.
out now. But he quarantined for 3 or 4 days, like the initial few days when the protest was like. Really
okay.
not high.
He's like, oh shit, this is too much heat for me. I need to step back. I'll let someone else. I'll delegate the work. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, it's a difference in leadership too, right? I feel like if he led the situation better, it wouldn't have gotten to this point. Yeah. That's why.
weird how-
I mean, it's
Yeah, go ahead, Abbas.
no. I mean, it's like everywhere. It's not just him. It's like even.
Right.
I'm guessing. I don't want to also make it political, but like even in the U.S. or anywhere, like
Right.
I'm just guessing it's this.
Guys, we've
No
been
leadership.
talking political for the past 20 minutes, so I'm refrain from the I don't want to make it political statements. We get it.
Yeah.
We get it. Yeah.
You guys are apolitical, okay?
All right. Well, it's a mixture of everything. That's the crazy thing about it, because you put on the freedom. It's called the Freedom Convoy, right? So it's like everything. I love freedom. Everyone loves freedom, right? Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
Exactly. No wonder. Yeah, that's a good PR move, because now everyone's on board for that, right? Everyone loves freedom.
Mhm.
But when you look at what it entails, it's like, it's I don't know. Is wearing a mask anti-freedom? I don't know. It's
Is wearing a mask anti-freedom? I wouldn't say so.
yeah.
It's more of like they don't agree with how the government imposes it on them.
Right.
They prefer to have the choice. Like they don't care. Most of them don't even care about wearing the
And they're
mask or not wearing the
vaccinated,
mask.
most of
It's
them.
just I don't think that's their main argument. It's the argument for them is to actually be able to choose.
Yeah,
And-
because everything's forced here.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what
Yeah, but-
happens in a state of an emergency. A state of emergency, the government imposes it, and it's like a legal loophole where the government is allowed to enforce laws on the people that aren't usually permitted.
Right.
And this is in basically in a way to combat the pandemic. And like it makes sense, okay, it's a bit authoritarian, which is
Right.
against Western values, but when you're fighting a pandemic that is very infectious and is causing deaths, what other choice does the government have?
Saeed, to correct you real quick, they didn't call the state of emergency for the pandemic. They called the state of emergency for the trucker convoy. I was looking into it. Apparently Canada has called the state of emergency 4 times in history. World War I, World War II. In the 70s, like the prime minister got kidnapped by terrorists. So they call it a state of emergency. And now, whatever, some
The
random
truckers.
guys with trucks, yeah. This shit is like blown out of proportion, right? You think this is like World War II?
Some Canadian kid is gonna be like in the year 3000. He's gonna take like history and they're gonna teach it for the state of emergencies, and he's gonna be like, "Wow, I want to read about the trucker situation."
It's like, what's so big about the trucker situation that's at the same level as World War II,
It's crazy.
That's kind of ridiculous.
But I wanted to say, is like wearing a mask anti-freedom? Like, why do people think it is anti-freedom? Like, even
I
if
think it's what it represents.
even if it's forced, like you said, Saeed, it is a state of emergency, as in COVID. Like there's
COVID's
deaths
real.
happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
COVID's
people used to say COVID's fake, but I mean,
Yeah, until they get it.
until they get it, yeah. But no, for real, like, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
people make it too much. Like, they
Abbas,
think
it's not
about it too
about the
much.
mask itself. It's not about the health situation. This is how I perceive it. I perceive it as like they are thinking of it in a long-term way, where if they see that the government is we allow the government to impose these restrictions on us, then what's to say they won't impose even more restrictions, such as monitor
bro.
surveillance or monitoring.
They already
how-
do that, man. Like, you can't think it's
that.
not that deep, you know?
Exactly, they already do that, but most people don't really think of it that way. You know,
Yeah. I know.
they
Right.
and now we're in a situation where most people are starting to doubt like the trust in the government and like
Right.
change their opinions about how the government
Things have changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially
What
with
has
new
changed? Like what?
like surveillance and like third-party
Right.
groups providing information. Basically all of your information is no longer a private
Yours.
asset.
Yeah.
It's not just private anymore.
Yeah.
It's much more public than we think.
And
So
like faith in the government and faith in the media, that's also decreased a lot. Which is, it's crazy how that plays out. And to me, I was just thinking about like being the ability to protest, the ability to like say, oh, I have an issue with something, and then go out and talk about it. And I guess that's fine, right? Why do
For
you
sure,
need
it
to shut it down? It's like you hear about things like that from like Russia or China or these like, authoritarian countries that just go like, someone's angry, shut them down. Arrest the
we don't want
journalists.
them. Yeah, we don't want them to raise awareness.
Yeah.
I agree. That's very anti-freedom. But I mean, like, yeah, maybe like you said, Saeed, it's the idea. It's just the what it shows the idea.
Yeah, and also by the way, even Western countries do that. They just when you were saying, for example, authoritarian regimes use the law enforcement or the military to directly squash any protests. Western countries also do that. They just wait a bit, they give you like a few days, and then they warm themselves up, and then they're like, oh, this is getting out of hand, let's beat the shit out of our people. I mean, that's what happened in Canada also. Like you see horses. I saw a video of like horses running over people.
Oof.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started to fight back a little bit. The police.
Ooh.
Yeah, could you tell us about that, Nafis? What happened when the military did come onto the ground?
Nothing. They just kind of cleared some of the borders, and they just basically tried to frighten them and like push them back a little bit, and then they were just instantly called back. They're like, no, we don't need to. But now it's just the police that they're doing it. They're just like pushing them back, clearing some of the roads that needs to be cleared, things like that.
So right now, what's the current situation of things and how are things looking?
It's quiet because of other situations. No one's really talking about it anymore. There are people still there in Ottawa, but it's not even on the news, so I can't even tell you what's happening.
You know what?
There's something else.
Why am I not surprised, dude, that it's like, I do feel like it's like a frenzy thing. Like everyone's on board and then it's trending and then the whole world's talking about it. And then boom, you got Ukraine. You know what I mean? And that's the next topic that everyone's talking about.
That's the next big thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And people start forgetting the people's attention, It's like the news cycle only lasts a week, and then who knows what's going to be after, Ukraine and Russia. That is a wild thing to think about. Yeah.
I just want to add a comment. I think the main issue with this protest, and most probably other protests that occur, is that usually they go out with when they start off, it's a small group, and they have like a written agenda to what they want. They know what they want. They know what their demands are. But as the protest keeps growing, and then it gets more attention and more media hype, and other people start joining it, it becomes a bit more political and becomes more of an ideology protest instead of just like a one problem protest. So their main protest was just like their jobs being affected by the restrictions, these very specific restrictions on truck drivers.
Right.
But then when people started joining in protests, I'm guessing the protests became more than that. It just started including
Masks and lockdown,
masks
yeah.
and lockdowns and anti-vaccines protests, which was not the initial protest. So once that happens, it becomes very confusing to, you know, direct the whole protest into one specific topic to be able to talk with the government about, and then just becomes this like noise that has no like understanding of what it is. So the government just ends up ignoring it, and the people just give up. So I'm guessing that's what's happening now, since there's no more noise.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, that happens with majority of the protests, I think.
Right. I was thinking about Palestine. Palestine too.
I'm telling you, a protest is not a protest unless it's violent, man. It's got to be violent. It's got to be burning tires.
Jeez. Well,
make noise.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, you got to do something. Like that's how you got to make noise.
It's true. You don't like. If you have a more specific plan, it's been done in the past, though. You know, Martin Luther King was able to make huge changes in all of society by just having a plan and having people with him on the same page. You know what I mean? So it's like, and
yeah, but Ali, there was a lot of violence at that time. What do you mean? I mean, he was
wasn't
shot.
involved. He wasn't involved in it. Right? He was shot, but he wasn't involved. He didn't do violence himself. It's
yeah, okay, but you're saying there's no violence, but just because they didn't conduct the violence doesn't mean there was no violence. It can be from the opposing side as well,
right?
And which was happening,
right?
And eventually that spiraled out of control. But I'm pretty sure there's more to it than just saying there was no violence, because it's not exactly true. Almost all protests, I would say all protests had violence, and that the successful protests and successful revolutions all had violence, in my opinion.
Right. But it's like as a method, as a strategy. How about that? Instead of having a strategy of, oh, we're gonna go attack these places, you know, it's more so like, oh, we're gonna go and protest and gather a group of people and say this is what we want, and put pressure on the government and negotiate for what we want. And it's happened in the past, you know what I mean? And I know, man. I feel like we're in 2022. I feel like we really don't need violence. Like all this war that's going on and all this fighting. It's like, what are we in the freaking Napoleon times? You know, it's like none of us want or need this.
I'm sorry, but I want to add something that I want to leave for next week. But man, it has been going on, man. The violence, it never really stopped. It never really started. You know, this is now just the media putting attention on what is happening, but there's like 7 different other places having war and thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'll leave that for next week. Yeah, we'll leave that for next week.
Leave it for next week. Stay tuned for next week. Otherwise, guys, next week. All right, let's end it right here. How about that?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Nafis, for your beautiful information. Because I don't trust the news. I really only trust Nafis. Nafis is the cleanest source of news we have.
The cleanest source.
Sorry, the most accurate source of news. Thank you.
I could give you like many stories. Like, you want to hear a story?
Yeah, give us a story. Give us a story.
All right. So my cousin works in he used to work in Alberta as a lecturer in the north side of Alberta. So it's like a rural area, very cold. It's called Fort McMurray. He works there as a college lecturer. And so one day he wakes up in his apartment and he's getting ready, and he just opens the window a little bit, opens the curtain, and he just sees an entire SWAT team, 3 ambulances, a fire truck, and a guy with an M16 pointing at him. And he's like, I mean, his heart dropped, and he's like, you know, he hides and he calls 911. He's like, yo, there's a SWAT team outside my house. Is there an operation going? Why am I not notified? And the 911 dispatcher's like, what? A SWAT team in Fort McMurray, Alberta? What are you talking about? And so, like, he's like, no, there's a SWAT team. And then the 911's like, okay, I'll check it out. And this 911 calls back, is like, yeah, there's an operation going on. Just stay inside. And, you know, all he hears is 1 gunshot, some tear gas, because his eyes were watery and he can feel the tear gas. And he hears a gunshot. And then a knock on the door. And he opens the door. It's a guy with an M16. He's like, oh, just stay inside. The operation has been completed. You can get out in a few minutes. We'll come back and tell you. And so all he hears them like taking someone downstairs and then a few minutes later, they knock and they say, okay, yeah, operation's done. See, so then he's like, okay, I gotta get out of here. I don't want to be here any longer. He opens the door. He sees drops of blood on the stairs. He goes downstairs. The SWAT team's gone. No trucks, no police, nothing. And then he just goes to work, and he's late for work. He's like an hour late or 2 hours late for work, right? And he goes to his boss and he tells his boss, yo, there was a SWAT team and all this happened. He's like, what? And he has no way to prove it because this was never in the media, never on the newspapers, nothing. So he can't even prove it to his boss. Like, yeah, I'm late for work because of this. Like, basically what happened is like the person living upstairs was a drug dealer or something like that, and they shot him and they took him.
Wow.
It's not in the news, nothing. So it's like going to school and telling your teacher, yo, I couldn't do my homework because my dog ate my it's like that because he couldn't even prove it. Like, yeah, that's like one of the stories that never makes the news, even though everyone in that apartment knew what was going on. It just doesn't make the news. There's no journalists here, no integrity, nothing.
But is it because of it's a very secluded area, and there isn't much reporting in that area, or
no, there are reporters in that area. They're just told not to report on things, on certain situations.
Really?
Yep. I mean, it has to do with either drug dealing or human trafficking. I'm pretty sure. Because in Canada, there's a lot of problems with human trafficking. Like, I think 2 nights ago, at 6 a.m. in the morning, we get Amber alerts. Like, on our phone, everyone gets it on their phone. And the phone goes haywire. It's like, beep, boop, beep, boop. This child has been kidnapped.
Yeah.
If you have any information, blah, blah, blah. It
happens in the U.S. Yeah.
Canada's a scary place. Canada's a very scary place.
It's so rural that, like, these human trafficking shit happens.
You don't see it coming. Yeah,
you just don't see it.
Right. It's like, the beautiful Canada, where everyone's so nice to each other.
Bro, this is part of the good PR thing. They want to project like the North America as like this Western, this civilized society and like a country where it doesn't have any problems in it, and we're more civilized and more peaceful than the Middle East and stuff like that. And then you see shit like this, where they even have higher rates of human trafficking than any country in the world, probably.
We had a school shooting last week.
You had a what?
School shooting.
What?
In Canada?
It's just like 3 kilometers from my house, and it was
How come we don't hear about this?
It was basically gang related.
Good PR,
it was
man.
gang related. So the guy shot him right in the dome, like with the gun. Just shot him, and he went to shoot the other guy, 14-year-old. He shot the 18-year-old on the head, and then he went to shoot another 17-year-old, and I think the gun clocked, and he couldn't shoot him.
Damn,
so that was on the news, though. That had to be on the news.
Yeah, that was top tier material. That's why.
Yeah,
bro, I have never heard of a school shooting in Lebanon. I've never heard. Like,
me neither.
So I don't. In general, in the Middle East, actually, I've never heard.
You have an outlet for shooting in the Middle East. You go.
No, okay, shooting. No, shooting and school shootings are two different things. Shooting in general, okay, it's going all around. But like a school shooting, like a 14-year-old coming with an AR-15 or a pistol or anything like that, just shooting up bunches of people.
No, why? I see. Never mind.
Yeah.
Why?
Bad joke.
They get their therapy
taste.
from Call of Duty. Is that it?
I'll tell you guys.
They play too much Call of Duty. Yeah, man. That's actually like big news to me. I never thought Canada would also have these kinds of.
Yeah, I never
US
knew.
Has. Yeah.
School shootings happen in Canada.
Before COVID hit, we had more crime rates here in Toronto than in New York.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Holy shit. America.
Well, thanks for opening our eyes. Yeah, I feel like Canada. What? I don't want to go to Canada right now. Yeah. Sounds
Nafis, you should open like a non-biased, like fully truth, like news outlet. You can make bank.
Go to Twitter, man. Share all the stories and just like say fuck
the
Trudeau.
only news. Yeah.
Keep it for the podcast. Just keep it.
No, like I think it's just Toronto people. They know, or like people in Canada. There are Twitter accounts where you have proper news, but it's just not internationally shown. It's just within Twitter it's shown, but not.
Yeah, bro. But these people on Twitter don't have, for example, your cousin as a source, and.
Yeah.
We need that grade A information, to be honest.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's like the more you like look into something, the more you see it's not what it seems. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel
man,
about everything. Yeah.
This was a live experience, a story. So you don't get.
I couldn't believe it. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's not like exactly, and when I'm trying to imagine like his boss reacting to it. Like if I was his boss, I would believe him, because how creative do you have to be to actually make up a story like this? You know, like a SWAT team came with an M16. It's like blood on the. He's like describing a crime scene to him, and like I would believe him. I'd say, it's like, bro, you deserve a raise, maybe even.
You deserve a raise.
We believe your cousin. All right. Let's end it right there with the wise guys. Canada time. Thanks, Nafis, for all your Canada information. Abbas, Saeed, and me.
Thank you, guys.
The wise guys, back at it again. Another week, another podcast. Most international variety, amazing podcast. See you later. Adios. Woo.
Join us next week.